Hi everyone, Scott Player Popcorn fan here, and okay, get that away. Hi everyone, Scott Player here. I am here to finally do my review of Final Destination Bloodlines. I actually just got home from seeing the movie with my buddy Sean. I did a review with him for his channel, and I want to also do my own review, going a little bit more in depth with my thoughts for this movie. And I am safe to say that this is definitely a very solid film in this franchise. It does something a little bit new and different compared to previous films, and I really liked that about it. I liked how, the subtitle of Bloodlines is not necessarily referring to any what I mean is it's kind of referring to a generational kind of a story, and that's what I really liked about it. I liked how this movie kind of tackled the theming of family dysfunction, family drama, and I think that played really well into the story of this film. The concept of this franchise, how death will come for you if you're like a survivor from like a really big disaster, and if there's like more than one survivors, death will come for you one by one. I love that concept. It's very fascinating, and it allows for very creative and unique kills, which is what this franchise is known for. And that's what I like about this franchise. I think that's what the concept itself is, what sells this franchise. There's not one particular movie that's like the original Halloween, for example, but like the franchise itself, because of the concept, that is so fascinating. And that's what I like about this one in particular. There's some very creative and inventive kills in this, and while it's not nearly as tongue-in-cheek as kills in previous installments, it does still kind of, I will admit, there's things that happen in this movie that aren't quite so believable. There's still moments like that in this movie, which, kind of suspension of disbelief, right? Or suspension of belief in regards to some of the things that do happen in this film. That's just one tiny little criticism I do have. But other than that, though, I do think this is easily, like, when the fifth film came out, Final Destination 5, when that came out 15 years ago, I considered that my favorite film in the franchise. And then this comes out, and the fact that it's a family drama alone just sells it even more for me as a Final Destination fan, because I actually do care about these characters, because throughout this franchise there's so many young adult characters that you don't really care for in previous installments, and the previous installments just feel like kind of tongue-in-cheek, like supernatural slashers in a way. And that's also a thing that this franchise does so interestingly and uniquely, that kind of creates this kind of sense of what is around you that could potentially harm you, like that kind of paranoia. That's another thing that I think is very fascinating with this particular franchise, because it's death itself, like the force, this kind of invisible kind of killer that's stalking you, and you can't see the threat. That's what's so fascinating and scary about it at the same time, because it's that level of paranoia that you have if you're someone that has experienced things like that before. And I think that plays into one of the most important characters in this film, who was Iris. I think her character was really fascinating, and when the movie jumps it forward in time, she's this grandmother who, I will admit, like, a lot of her arc is a lot like Laurie Strode in the Halloween 2018 film. I will say that there are some parallels between her character and Laurie Strode in the 2018 Halloween film, and there's some comparisons there that you can make, because this is technically a legacy sequel, similar to other movies that we've gotten within this kind of genre. And I think in regards to the legacy sequel aspect of this, Tony Todd, this was his last film. Rest in peace, Tony Todd. He passed away, and after he was finished with this movie, and that last little bit of his appearance in this film, it was very impactful, very and moving in the sense that a lot of his line delivery just added a lot of weight to just caring about life, keeping what you have while you have it. That is such an important line delivery from Tony Todd himself to the characters that we're following throughout this one. And I loved the acting. I loved the acting in this movie from everyone across the board. I think everyone was really great in the roles. I think there were only a couple characters that I didn't really care for, but at the same time, there's this one character who was kind of like this tattoo piercing kind of character who you kind of don't really want to like him, but at the same time, I like his presence. I liked his presence in the film, and I think what they do with his character was fascinating, and how he was kind of protective of his brother, and I liked that about him. I think everyone in this movie were really great. There's no characters in this that I thought were completely dislikable, but I thought it was great for the most part. If you're looking for a movie within the slasher subgenre, this is definitely for you. If you love creative kills and the music too, there were so many great song choices in this movie. I loved the soundtrack. That's another major aspect of appreciation I have for this film. I love the soundtrack. A lot of great song choices in this, and overall, this is a very solid film. I easily, like I was saying, the fifth film was my favorite for the longest time, but now I really do think that this is probably my favorites, now that I've seen this. And one last thing before I end this off, when I did my review with Sean, I kind of gave it a B+ grade, but the more I think about this movie, the more I appreciate it. So I think I'm going to bump my grade up from what I was saying in Sean's review, and I'm going to give it an A-. I actually, yeah, this is a very solid film. I really did enjoy this, and it is easily one of the better films in this franchise. It really is, because as a Final Destination fan, I think the third film and the fourth film in this series just kind of felt repetitive, like we're doing the same thing over and over. And then we get to this one and it does something new and different, which I really like when we get a new film in a long-running franchise like this. And speaking of that, this movie coming out 25 years after the original film, 25th year anniversary for this franchise as a whole, because the original Final Destination came out the year 2000. So this franchise is literally 25 years old this year, and a great movie to have as a 25th anniversary film with this franchise, and great film. I don't know if they're gonna make any more movies, but I do think that there is room, because death itself, it will always be there. Death itself will always be there. You can't kill death. It will always be there, which is why there's limitless potential for more films that you can also do different things with. And that's what I think is very fascinating about this. And I cannot wait for more if they make more. And I thought this was a great film. Easily my favorite in the series now. So yeah, A- for me. That is my review of Final Destination Bloodlines. Thank you guys so much for watching. And one last little tidbit before I end this off. I want to do a ranking. Now that I've seen this, I want to do a ranking of all 6 films, but I will do that in a shorts. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you all guys again very soon. Peace.